Hello everybody, my name is Abdul Alim Gonzalez. I go by the name PAWS21 in the art field. Today we're going to be discussing rollers and the correct use of them. Basically what we have here, we have an oversaturated roller, which is something I really don't like doing. When you have an oversaturated roller, what happens is the paint builds up on the sides here, and that could cause a whole lot of drips and things going on in the future. But basically what we do is, to get started, when you first purchase a roller, it comes in this package, and obviously it's dry. So what you want to do is take it out of the package, run it under some water, and then you want to rinse it out. You want to wring out the water within that roller. And once you wring it out to the best of your ability, then you want to place it on the roller frame. Once it's on the roller frame, you want to take the roller and you want to spin it on the wall real quick. This will take any excess water or moisture that's inside of the roller nap, and it'll remove it. The reason you want to wet the roller first is so that the paint can absorb properly and evenly throughout the roller. So once it's absorbed in there, once the paint absorbs into the roller, and you periodically want to make sure that your roller, because it will slide off from time to time. You don't want that happening. So every so often, while you're rolling, you want to just tap it down to make sure that the roller is secured to the roller frame. Okay. Now, when you do roll, there are a lot of videos and a lot of tutorials that say you want to go in an M fashion, in a W fashion. That's not really necessary. What you do is you start up, you start down, you start up, and you want to overlap each layer by half. Okay. You start one. Okay. You go back up. And your next one, you want to do a half and continue on like this. Now what happens, we're actually using this board just as a sample, but it's just to get the point across. Now what happens when you roll, this is a very versatile tool here, this roller. Okay, you can really get some tight edges with this. You can get real small edges. When you go with the edge of it, there's lots that you could do with it. I've done lots of artwork with just rollers alone, and the rollers alone would make up the bulk of the artwork or the base of the artwork prior to rendering. And you'll be amazed at how much detail you can get with this roller. Now the objective is, when you roll, once in a while you'll have buildup and residue on the end. It'll basically spill over, and you'll have a crease or a bump on the edges. So what you want to do is, over every pass, you just want to lightly roll over, and this will even everything out. So, and this is a really quick process. You just go like this, and then you go back, you roll it out, make sure it's nice and even and smooth, and you just continue the whole process. This is amazingly fast once you get started. Okay? Now, when we're done with the roller, to remove the roller, we basically, you always want to store your rollers in a bag, just a regular plastic bag. Make sure there's no holes in them. You want to make it airtight. You put the roller in here, okay? And you wrap the bag around. You can leave it just like that. This roller, you could actually have this there for a couple of weeks, and when you come back, this thing will still be moist. Now, if you want to remove the roller, you can remove it with the bag on it, okay? And it'll come off. Sometimes it's a little jammed in there, okay? So what you want to do is, if the paint ever dries on the tip or the edges, you just bang it on the floor, okay? It'll knock it loose, okay? And then you can remove it. Also, another technique for removing the roller is you grab the paint, the rod here, the extension rod, and you just tap it and it comes right out. Roll it back on. Let's say we came back a couple days later or what have you. We come back, we open the bag up, the roller is still moist. See, now you have a lot of goobers and stuff here. Now what's happening here is the paint tends to dry on the frame. Okay, this is very notorious. This happens a lot also when you're working outside. Okay, especially under sunlight. What will happen is, especially in the paint pan, this is notorious. What will happen is, let's just get this roller back on here. Mind you, let's say we had this thing sitting for a couple of days, even a week. You could just get right to it. But what happens is when you're working outside, especially under sunlight, the sunlight will actually start drying out the paint, especially up around this area of your paint pan. So when you go to roll, you'll pick up dry paint and you'll tend to see that you have lots of residue in your paint. And lots of goobers is what it's commonly called. So to avoid that, especially when you're working in sunlight, you could either, I love this paint pan simply for this reason, and you could constantly keep it covered. Okay, flip it around this way. I want you to take a look at this. The way the pan the roller sits in there, and you can just put it right on there, and that'll keep everything moist. We don't always have the convenience of having this type of pan. So if we're working with a regular paint pan, you always want to have a wet rag, a wet towel, a white wet towel to throw over the pan, especially if you're working in sunlight. That'll keep everything moist and it'll keep it from drying up. Or you could just grab anything, I mean a piece of cardboard, something, just to keep it sealed and covered, even on just a regular pan. Okay, there's one other thing I want to show you guys with regard to the roller frame. Now you have the protrusion of the frame here, and you have nothing protruding here. This is very critical when you're trying to get into tight spaces. And when you're flying on these walls, you have to be able to flip, and know exactly how to get into these tight places. So anytime I get to, let's say for example, a corner here, which is a very difficult corner, instead of coming this way, and the reason why I don't want to come here is because the frame will knock me up against here and it'll keep me from getting too close. So instead of this, I come this way and I can get very close to this edge. Very close. I mean, same thing over here. Whenever I want to get to edges, I always flip the frame around. I don't want to come here. I actually want to come here. And what I'll do is I'll twist ever so slightly to apply pressure at this angle of the paint frame, and it allows it to lay down the paint evenly and nicely. This is very important when you're rolling out letters. I'm sure the majority of you guys watching this will basically be doing this for painting homes, but for you sign painters, that is very important. You definitely want to roll with this edge of the frame towards whatever sharp edge you want to hit. And you see here, you see that goober there, we pick it up with this, take it off, and roll it right back out. Okay? It's going to happen, especially when you're working outside. Okay? Alright. There we go. A perfect scenario where you would have to flip the roller to get in as tight as possible to an edge that we have here. So again, this is more so for the sign guys, but the average do-it-yourselfer could learn from this. Try to get it from this angle here. You can actually get very, very close. I'm applying pressure to the edge of the roller, keeping it at a slight angle. And again, for you sign guys, this is very important. And this right here, this is where I would come in with a painter's brush and we'll just lay that down. One pass hard, I'm putting a little pressure on it, and then the second and third pass, I'm just lightening the pressure. Why am I doing that? The reason why I'm lightening the pressure on the second and third pass is to make the stubbles even. they smooth them out. The lighter you go, the smoother and the smoother texture you're going to have on that wall. You don't want really texture on walls unless that's the effect that you're looking to obtain. But in general, you want to have a nice smooth wall, so your last pass wants to be you want it to be very smooth and soft. Okay? Again, this is a very fast process. When people see me rolling, I'm actually rolling very fast, but this is actually what's going on. I'm doing a hard lay down, the first 1 or 2 passes, and then the second and third and fourth, very smooth. And this is happening very, very fast. And again, that's so that we can acquire a nice, smooth, even lay down of paint.